Hello, James McBride here again. Glad you're with me. Let's take a look at AI. So in general, AI really is, in my opinion, worse than a nuclear weapon. It has the potential to destroy everything. And I am not really meaning from a Terminator standpoint. That's what a lot of people think. That AI is going to become sentient and blah, blah, blah. That's not what I'm seeing. So you have those people that are way out there on one side and way out there on the other. There are some people that say, oh, it's going to be daisies and roses and everything's beautiful and nobody will have to work. We'll have AIs and robots and everybody will get a standard living and we'll just have these slaves for us and that'll all work out great. And then the others are like, no, the thing's going to run amok and kill us all. And this concept of a machine thinking has been around from the early 1900s. So there's a lot built up in people's minds just from the mythology of what's happening, of what could happen, and what's happening, is what I mean to say, to put those two together. But why I say that it's worse than a nuclear weapon is because when you combine AI and robotics, you have the potential to replace any job, any job. As it gets better and better and better, then we combine that with robotics that's getting better and better and better. It will replace everything. And we as a society need to understand that and need to be socially aware because the only thing that we're going to be able to do is say, look, AI can only go as far. We can't just let it go. Otherwise, we're going to run into trouble. A lot of people don't know this, but basically there was a big strike years ago on the East Coast where longshoremen basically said, we're done, we're walking out. Part of that was the fact that the computer now has the ability to move all those giant shipping containers without any intervention. And so during that strike, they made the promise to them that they were not going to continue to pursue that because that gets rid of a ton of jobs. It gets rid of what people do for a living. So you take that, and a lot of people, when you talk about a specific area within our society, most people are very ready to get rid of it. If it's going to be contained to this, it doesn't affect me. Go ahead and do it. Once they understand, no, that's just the beginning piece, but really there's nothing that you can't program this AI to do other than this is what we're having the biggest problem with. Deal with general information and create outcomes based on that general information. So this is the thing. We have found AIs, they've been working on this since the 80s. So this is not something that all of a sudden appeared. But here's the situation. Computers are good at usually what we're not good at. As humans, when we start to deal with 1,000 different variables, we have a hard time narrowing down what the problem is with all the variables. We have to work as a massive team in order to get anywhere. However, computers do a really good job at that, and they've always done a really good job at that. I tell students all the time because it shocks students to tell them this. The biggest profession I would not be going into right now would be to become a doctor. And that's because a doctor takes this complex thing, a person, and you go in and go, oh yeah, my arm's hurting, it's really hurting. And they basically have digested all this information about the human body and they go through in their head, arm hurts, muscle related, bone related, circulation related. They go through this decision tree to get to it's probably muscle related, right? That's the most probable. And okay, so this is what we then do for that. Oh, well, that didn't work. So the next thing on the list is, the next thing on the list is, the next thing on the list is. And that's what doctors do. That's why it can take a very long time for doctors to get down to some problem that is kind of mysterious. It's like, well, it could be 1,000 different things. Most likely it's this, but we got to keep trying all these different things. Well, a computer can go through that same, you can program everything in that you know about the human body and update it on an hourly basis. And the AI, the computer, will be able to go through that and go boom, 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 boom. Let's try this. Boom, 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 boom. Let's try this. Most people are not being told uh, because the news is really emotionally leading these days. It's almost like not news anymore. So you don't hear this kind of stuff. But within medicine, within chemistry, within biology, within anything that's scientific, we have all this data and they shove it into the AI, and the AI is doing remarkable things with this data and being able to make links that humans have never made before. It's just rapidly progressing. It's just massive. The effect that AI is having on those fields is massive. Over on our personal lives, I'm typing into AI, please create blah, 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 and it's spitting out a piece of junk. And for me, like, this is a really easy thing to do. Why am I getting this piece of junk out of this AI? It has a hard time. It has a hard time with going, well, what did you mean by that? And did you want this? Did you want that? I have to make all these assumptions. But we as humans know. So when we talk to people and we're saying, oh, this, that, and the other, there's all this stuff that's happening in that communications that basically we need to program into AI. And it depends on people's personalities. It depends on, is that person an instructor? Are they a teacher? Are they a professor? Are they approaching it from this angle as opposed to this angle? There's so many things. And AI is really struggling with that. But anything that you can break down and say, this causes this, causes this, causes this, wow. Right? Surgeries, you pay surgeons just hundreds of millions of dollars because it's not just the fact that they have a mind that I focused on this heart and this is what can go wrong with the heart, all the millions of things that can go wrong with it. And I can now do a surgery and see this problem, that problem, and on. They're being replaced by robots that do all the cutting, all the stuff. And these robotic devices have AI, and the doctor can sit and watch and go, oh, okay, don't cut there. No, because the doctor sees a problem that the AI doesn't know about. So don't cut there, do this. And then the robot does that. Much more precise, no shaky hands, no problems there. It does that, and then in the end goes, so why did you have me stop? That's in its programming. Well, why did you have me cut here or do this or whatever? Because of this. And they are putting it in. Now that shares it across all these other robotic devices that do surgeries. And instantaneously, that now has been upgraded. That kind of stuff is happening and will continue to happen. And I guess what I'd say as a guiding principle, you need to understand that throughout the next 20 years, you're going to see massive impact in those kinds of situations in those areas. Uh, I guess what I'd be saying is if you were looking at medicine, you probably should be a nurse. You're going to have a safer time being a nurse than a doctor. Um, just a standard medical place that usually will have like an MD and several physician's assistants or PAs. So you might have an MD and that's six PAs. Well, you don't need the six PAs. You only need three. And then over the next 30 years or 40 years, you only need two of those because you come in and you sit down and you talk to the computer and they're taking your blood pressure. They're doing all of that stuff. You say, well, that's what the nurse does. But it's true, but the nurse is probably still going to have to connect you. Then in another 40 or 50 years, then there's this robot person that can connect you. And it's like I'll hear a ton of people, they'll say, oh, well, if you want to go into one that's AI proof, go take this job. That's AI proof. And it's like, it's only until the robot is able to do it. And if you haven't seen, just watch the stuff that comes out of Japan, Honda, and all that, and what's happening at Elon Musk's place. And then that'll scare the crap out of you and say, we can tie that into AI, tie it into massive brain on the internet, on the cloud, and yeah, and we can apply that and build special robots to do roofing. We can do anything with this stuff. So you be aware that AI really has the ability to just decimate everything. And normally, people that are way up in power, that are making the hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, they don't care so much. As long as they can make more of a profit, that's usually what they're going after. And so this is going to be a thing where people in the future are going to have to say, look, you're being put in to the legislature for this reason, to protect us as humans against people that would just replace us. That is honestly where you need to be thinking. However, right now, how do we use it? Where does it come in and mess up our safety? And where does it help us? And that's what this unit is about. And so a lot of this unit really has to deal with using AI tools that can benefit, um, how would you how would you say it? Benefit us in IT. So some of this really has to do with things that are beyond what you would normally do. But a lot of it does make a play for your attention and what you're doing, especially bad stuff. So that's why this is extra credit. You can gain extra credit by doing this stuff, but it's not a necessity for you to do, because there is a dual use of AI. There's a lot of defensive tools and there is a lot of attacking tools. And we'll look at some recent stuff that happened with that. So this is our learning objectives and our core topics: artificial intelligence and machine learning. And the honest truth is, in my opinion, this AI is used way too much. Like I said, terms become used by marketing and business more than what they get used by or in societal applications, like saying the cloud, right? It's a huge thing, but that's more marketing than it is actually really what is it. Most of what we're doing is machine learning. Machine learning is creating models that help a computer actually learn on its own, so that you don't have to program everything into it. So if James McBride actually says this on the screen, then respond this way. Instead, you create a model that says, let's take this learning and let's organize it. That's machine learning. Automation, we'll look at automation in cybersecurity, threat detection, powered cybercrime. This is huge. Data privacy and surveillance, and ethical and legal implications to having AI do things for us. So would you trust an AI system to protect all your personal data? Why or why not? And should AI be allowed to make autonomous cybersecurity decisions without human approval? And that's really the whole, like, hey, let's go through the details, but this is really what we're getting to. This is really the societal questions. All right, so the good, the threat detection, it can analyze so much massive volumes of network data in real time. A hard thing for IT or cybersecurity technicians to do is there's so much going on the network. How can you take all that in and then make a decision based on it? So AI really, really is already helping with that and will continue to, because it can take all that data and say, I think these three things might be related, instead of you having to do that. That's the detection of unusual patterns, signaling malware intrusions. Just as an example, what this means is let's say on a standard network, we'll say it's a small network, you got 15 people on there. There's a level of traffic every single day that happens, and every single machine has a certain level of traffic that they normally do. That comes back to us, right? What are we clicking on? What are we doing on a daily basis? Well, you can record all that. And then if that level of traffic is, say, 40% higher, then the AI is going to go, wait, that's not normal. We shouldn't see that. We need to look further into this because that traffic is really high, that kind of thing. And identify previously unknown, what we call zero-day attacks, things that we're not concerned with, or not concerned with. We are concerned. We just don't know that they're there. And it being able to identify those much quicker than us identifying them. An example is intrusion detection system, and that's basically what I was describing. An intrusion detection system is tied into all the devices out there in the larger network. We don't have them on our home networks, but with AI getting better, you will be able to soon see routers that are going to start protecting you using this kind of system where it learns this is what this, I got this device that's attached over here and it's a smart light, but all of a sudden the traffic is pushing 70% off of that thing. So what's going on? Right. That is what we're talking about with these AI systems. All right. So the good automation and speed can go through those logs that IT cybersecurity needs, patch management. There's so many pieces of software, so many things that have to be updated all the time. And then, of course, being able to, as it says, alert triage, which means alert that something's happened and then triages to deal with it. Reduces the human error in that process because it, again, as long as you can specify these 150 things it needs to look at, it's never going to make a mistake where a human might go, oh, yeah, I need to look at that. Oh, they got me busy on this thing and the other thing, and now I'll do that. And then, oh, crap, I should have. Right, that's not going to happen. Critical for attacks that unfold in seconds. So attacks that happen very, very quickly. Authentication and fraud detection, enhanced biometrics is, yes, what we're going to be dealing with. Our face recognition is pretty dang good. Fingerprint recognition is pretty good. Voice, not as much. But being able to use AI to really discriminate against this is the person, this is not. That's actually a picture or a mask that somebody put on, something like that. Behavioral analysis, typing patterns, device usage, and then improves fraud detection in banking. So if you have AI watching those transactions and looking for those different things that happen, it will do a better job than a human does. So it detects data leaks much quicker than we can. It supports compliance. That is a huge thing. I mean, you know how the government is. It's just like, oh, yeah, let's put in this compliance. How long is that compliance book? 450 pages worth of compliance? Who understands this, right? It becomes a problem. So you could program the AI to understand and go, hey, you're not in compliance here. This is what you need to do to fix that. And can support anonymization and risk analysis. So in other words, it can anonymize things as it's coming through, where we can't really do that. I mean, we could, but it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of time in that scenario. Now, bad, and there tends to be more bad than there is good currently happening. The good has to come through the makers, right? The people that make these products that help you keep things secure, they have to put them in and apply them and analyze them, make sure it's all good. Where bad is just like, oh, I found a way to hack this, that, let's do it. It's much quicker. So adapts malware automatically to avoid detection. Malware is found usually by that FBI screenshot of this is what this malware does. Therefore, I see those things happening. And so using AI, it can adapt those and switch it around to try to get around the checkers. And then, of course, optimize the attack based on the target's defenses. One of the things an attacker will do is figure out what systems are you using, not just what ports are open, but are you using Cisco? What are you really using? Because then I need to target those particular flaws. And then enables more effective ransomware and botnet attacks. So ransomware looking more legitimate to you than it did in the past. And that is happening in real time very quickly these days. It used to be that I would go to somebody's house and they're like, hey, is this real? And you could see that says the FBI warning, and they misspelled things, and one sentence has got a period and the next one doesn't. And it's like, this doesn't even follow proper English. No, it's not real. But now that we have AI, AI can make it look like it's a lot more accurate and therefore seems to be more real. Botnet attacks are those things that turn your computer into a little bot. So you get malware, you don't even know you've got the malware, and your computer's just sitting there waiting to attack something else, and it's waiting for the code to make that attack possible. And so a botnet is basically your computer becomes a bot on this vast network of compromised computers, and it's going to place an attack on it. And AI is enabling that to happen much faster, much quicker. An example, polymorphic malware that changes its code each time it spreads. And so right now, yeah, AI does have problems coding, but it can give it a shot. And over time, this becomes better and better. Polymorphic means that it just changes what it looks like. AI-driven phishing, social engineering, this is becoming the hugest place that people really need to be aware of because it generates realistic phishing emails, not the ones with the missing periods, not the ones with misspelled words, and it uses personal data. So in the little privacy thing I did, go through and you can look at what you can find out about a person. That's what we're talking about. I'm talking about harvesting the internet, finding that particular person and creating an email that's really a phishing scam, and it just looks like it's totally real. Again, you may look at that and say, well, how can you defend against it? Well, it's still coming from an email. You can look at where it's coming from. And then the same rules apply. You get this and it sounds like urgent. I got to do it urgent. You don't. You open up a new email and you say, hey, boss man, did you send me an email that has this information that you wanted? Yes. And then if they get a little frustrated with you because they're like, I need that so urgently, you're like, well, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't falling victim to a realistic phishing scam. And then they'll, oh, yeah, totally get it. But usually that's never not the case, right? If you're really working with people and they're urgent about something, they'll send you an email and they'll call you and they'll text you. Yeah. Anyway, create deep fakes. This has of course become a huge thing. It's like putting out there, oh yeah, this is what somebody said, and they didn't say that. AI just made that. Right now, we can usually still tell the difference, but given another 5 years, and it's going to be very, very, very difficult. And you can link these together, right? So you could add a little audio file on your phishing email that sounds like me, but it's not. So you have to be aware that this stuff is going on and it's happening right now very quickly. Automate scam messages at a large scale, meaning from the hacker standpoint, instead of I'm going to send this to Eastern Arizona College employees, I'm going to send this to tens of thousands of different colleges. And I can have that automated and just do it instead of me having to do it. So it's much faster. AI voice that mimics the CEO request to a wire transfer. Yeah. You sending money, you got to send a bunch of money. Don't do it. Verify it. Privacy invasion and mass surveillance tracks individual across platforms using facial recognition, analyze personal behavior without consent, collects more data than is necessary. Surveillance creep. Capability does not equal ethical permission. So in our country and most countries, if you're in a public space, you don't have a right to privacy. Becoming a big deal. People really get upset because somebody goes out and starts recording something that's happening on the street. Well, something that's happening on the street, you don't have a right to privacy. Do it someplace else where you have a right to privacy. You just need to know in the United States, you don't have that right. Well, it's still, at least it's a lot better. We do have private property where that can't occur. However, in other countries, you don't have any right to privacy anywhere, and they can do whatever they want. And so mass surveillance has already been happening, like we talked about the privacy situation, but AI is going to make that even, if you want to say it 100 times, 1,000 times worse because it can be so automated and that information can be traded around and found. Where in the past, yeah, you may have been recorded over here and then you recorded over there, but those two systems don't integrate. And you know what? It's a pain to integrate them. And, what good is it? The software doesn't even, right? AI integrate it, and now AI is tracking you all over the place and knows specifically where you are. So that's going to become a problem. So as it says, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. What other problems? Well, AI needs large data sets containing tons of personal information, and that's going on right now, and people are having a difficult time with it. Like I think I expressed in one of them where the student basically is flagged for cheating when basically they quoted themselves. That information was harvested out of a Google email and then fed over to the system that's checking against plagiarism. So she had to prove that. That's from this needing large data sets. Uh, Misuse, breaches, or unauthorized sharing, and then bias in data can unfairly target. So what they're talking about here is you can go out and poison the systems. You can go out and feed it tons of fake information, and the AI is not AI; it's machine learning. Really, it doesn't know. Oh, that's probably fake. Where we, most of us, read it and go, I don't know. It sounds suspicious, right? You can poison it basically. And then many systems are black boxes. In other words, you don't really know what's happening inside of it. They're closed off and they're black boxes. And that's a challenge to transparency. In other words, this student, as an example, didn't realize whatever she put into her Gmail account was freely written, written, read by Google, and also shared or sold to others by Google. And so that's kind of a black box situation that she was not aware that that's happening. But now that she sees the dots linked together, that's apparently what's going on. So black boxes meaning, is Google being transparent in that? Is Microsoft being transparent? Is Apple being transparent? Are they telling us this is how it's going to be used? Which they're not. Difficult to explain or challenge AI decisions because you don't know how they're making those decisions. And that raises accountability issues. Like, who's accountable for this when AI really, really makes a mistake? Who do we hold accountable? So, laws always lag behind any kind of tech development. And in my opinion, it's still lagging behind it. Our laws favor the people that own the companies that want to make the money. They don't favor us and protecting us. And of course, those rules differ by country. It's hard to enforce any standard globally. Then that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with the internet. So you say, oh, that's illegal. Well, that's coming out of India. That's coming out of Malaysia. How do we deal with that? So key takeaways, AI is powerful force. It's going to be very effective for defense, but it's also very effective for offense. Give you an example. Hackers learned that Google's AI would actually convert any. So if you send an image in that had text in it, the AI would look at that and say, that's an image. I'm going to convert the image to text, and I will store a dumbed down version, a smaller version of the image, and I will store the text that's in the image. So if you were using Google's AI and you said, oh, I want you to take this image and put it into a presentation. When you do that, it's going to read that image and convert it to text and also save that image for later for whatever it wants to do with it, usually to feed it, right? To teach it. Well, anyway, hackers figured out, oh, they'll actually read the text, they convert it. Well, it doesn't just convert it, it actually reads the text. And so it will use the commands that are in the text. And so what they would do is if your corporation was using Google AI, then they would basically say, oh, hey, what I need you to do is take this text, and it's, something simple. Oh, all I do is take this text and do blah, 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 blah with it. And then, of course, there was code inside that image that it would run and say, oh, you know how this is all private information that's happening here? You need to send that private information to this location, this email address. And it would run that code. And so anybody that got this message within their system and they looked at it, like, there it is, I just got this. AI then now was used to hack them. And every personal little thing that they were sending corporate information was going out to this website. So yeah, that's a very offensive way to do it, offense. And then, of course, we just had, so I'll have to redo this video soon, but we just had the basically Claude code, the entire thing leaked on the internet. Somebody got paid for that, I'll tell you that, because it was a mistake. Yeah, somebody made a few million off of that. But anyway, it was leaked and immediately copied. And now there's Claw, uh, OpenClaw is what they call it, which now you can use this code, this AI that's been built, that's Claude is really good, and use it for whatever purpose you would like, including nefarious ones. And so there is AI that you can get as a hacker that will help you hack. That's there. So it's happening really, really fast. Benefits, speed, scale, and improved detection. Misuse, though, privacy invasion, ethical concerns. And then eventually, maybe we'll have AI that is transparent, that follows regulations, that has human oversight, because there has to be all of this within AI. Otherwise, whoever determined to use it for whatever purpose they determined to use it for is what is guiding the ethics. Like I just said, right? Open claw, take it, turn it into an AI that helps hackers hack. And that's currently where we sit. And there's nothing saying they can't do it. There is no law against that anywhere. There's nothing that basically there's no legal recourse, right? That's just being downloaded by the millions, and you can't say anything about it. If there was a legal recourse, then the government or a person could say, I'm suing because this hack happened from that. So we're suing you over here that are sharing that information out about this AI. And you're going to give us all the information about who went and downloaded it. But right now, you could get that information, but there's nothing legally to do about it. Anyway, that is AI and how it's dealing with our privacy and our security. If you got any good stories to share, you got any other information, please add to. Thanks for watching. Sorry about that. Go back over here to our screen. I'll clip this together.